going on, everyone? I kind of wanted to do an update for you. I know it's been a while, but with everything that's going on, uploading videos has been the least of my worries. With this COVID-19 that's going around, or coronavirus, whatever you want to call it, fortunately my EMT classes were canceled, so they're on hold for the next 2 weeks, and I know you guys don't want an update like that. You kind of want to hear paranormal stuff, so I'm gonna get to that. So I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and we were talking about COVID-19, or the coronavirus, and the effect it has had on society, and how people react, or their reaction towards something like an epidemic like we have now, which in reality it is. So people can be very selfish. You see it all the time, and right now you see people hoarding food to protect themselves, which is not saying there's anything wrong with that, but you can see what would happen if there was a complete collapse of society, and we are not too far from that. I think we're getting better with this right now. I think things are looking better now. There was a moment of it being scary, but I'm seeing less and less on the news about it, which is a good thing. I think it's very meteorized. I think the meteor blows things out of proportion. As a first responder myself, I've definitely seen the effects on it, and the calls that go through are getting higher and higher because people believe that they have the simple flu or something, which brings me to that. A couple days ago, maybe about a week ago, a little tickle in my throat and an onset of a sore throat with a running nose, and I was like, oh God, like, what if I have this COVID-19? So I called my doctor. He said that the signs and symptoms of that does not sound like that, but to go get tested. Went to get tested, and thankfully I don't have it. I just have the flu, which has put me out. It still has put me out of work for the past 3 days, going on probably tomorrow, because I have absolutely no energy at all. I've just been sleeping all day, but luckily I'm feeling better and better. Let's think about this in the aspect of a zombie apocalypse, and how we as humans would react towards something like this. I know the coronavirus, or the COVID-19, is nothing near a zombie apocalypse or zombie epidemic, or zombies are not even real. There's no real way for a reanimation of the body, but you look at something like 28 Days Later, and it's very surreal. Very, very surreal. I'm actually ended up watching that movie last night, and I just look at it and I'm like, wow, like, how real that movie is. I love 28 Days Later, by the way. 28 Days Later. 28 Weeks Later, is that the other one? I think it is. 28 Weeks Later. Great movies, but as a healthcare provider, as somebody who's in the healthcare system, you really see how surreal that movie can be, or it could be. And we see right now how society reacts, or their reaction towards COVID-19, and the possibility of a zombie apocalypse, which is extremely frightening. And I think that I want to talk about that in this video, because I think that zombies, the actual zombie, is paranormal. So I think that fits very well into my channel. So let's think the possibility of a zombie, and depending on what type of zombie we're talking about, you have zombies like George Romero's zombie, Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, which are in essence extremely, extremely unintelligent. There's no intelligence at all. This is a basic need to feed. They're very slow moving. Then you have the remake of the Dawn of the Dead, which the zombies were running, and they're more intelligent, but there's still that basic instinct, and there's a lack of intelligence in the corpse. Then you go to a movie like 28 Days Later, and people who are zombie fans don't like to call it a zombie movie, but in reality, it's a zombie movie. They were zombie-like, and I think far more frightening and far more surreal and real than any of those movies out there. Because again, there's no real way for a body to reanimate, and its first instinct is to kill or eat the living. I think the closest thing we get to that is something like to have something like the rabies mixed with the COVID-19, and there's your zombie apocalypse. It's not as simple as it sounds, but it's close enough, and that's frightening. My point in this video is basically because I just want to talk about how people react right now. You know, you have the National Guard out here right now helping, but the activation of the National Guard and just the collapse of society is definitely frightening. So I think COVID-19 or this coronavirus is the closest thing we're going to get to a zombie apocalypse. And I'm not trying to make it sound good at all. I'm not trying to make COVID-19 sound good at all, because it's not. We've had thousands of deaths already from it. Even though COVID-19 is the closest thing you're going to get to SARS and influenza, it's still a horrible virus. And so that's basically my thoughts on this, because I wanted to do a video about zombies for a while and my thoughts on it, and basically how I think it would spread. And you know, you have this crazy amount of people going to the hospital because they think they have something, and then you have the hospitals overrun. Again, the activation of the National Guard, and they're overwhelmed. You have the activation, you know, not the activation, but you have the police, they're going to be overrun. As a first responder, as other first responders, firefighters, paramedics, you know, they're overwhelmed with this amount of people, because people think they might have this, and they contact their healthcare provider and they're told to go here, and it's just crazy. So my friend asked me to do this video, and I did. So I think this is the closest thing we're going to get to that. Hopefully that will never happen. And I think luckily, like I said, I think that we are definitely seeing decline in deaths, and I think we're starting to see it decline with this virus. And hopefully within the next couple weeks, you know, the shelter in place is going to help a huge amount right now. There's people kicking rocks with it, but in reality, this is what's going to help us, because if you're not going out unless you really need to, you're not going to catch something. You're not going to spread to your family members aren't going to go and spread to other people, and you have that downward spiral, that domino effect. So that is my thoughts right now of the COVID-19 or the possibilities of a zombie apocalypse. So hopefully everyone is well. Hopefully everyone's doing okay. Hopefully this flu will go away, and I'll be back to work soon, and I'll be going stir crazy sitting in my room. Happy hunting, guys.